Welcome to the Prophecy Club. An interesting program today. Ukraine extortion, Venezuelan oil, dollar, and the IRS. I think it's really important that you watch this one today. Okay, so our goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers by the first of the year, so please subscribe wherever you're watching it. Also, I've got a couple of people that have supported us. We need $12,000 to print my new book. And if God has blessed you, you can help. Now would be a wonderful time. And if you can help with at least $500, I want to send you a personally autographed and numbered book in the order I've received the donations to help me print this book and get it out. And if you want to know about the book, you can pause and read that, and that'll tell you all about it. You can also pre-order one at prophecyclub.com. One for 20, don't do that. Shrink wrap sets a 10 for 35. That's the best deal. Give you 9 to get away. All right, and I forgot to check whether they're still doing the 25% off, but you can go to empshield.com and get yourself one of, I keep forgetting to bring that over here, one of these goes on your car, also on your house, so that when some kind of electrical storm, hopefully that's all it is, hits, your computers don't get fried. And it may be that the 25% off is still going today. Check it out, empshield.com. Main thing is use the promo code prophecy, get you a $50 discount on each one of the items. Okay. Also, if you're looking for gold or silver, go to prophecyclubgold.com. Especially if you have an IRA, a 401k, or a pile of money someplace that you want to put in gold or silver, 800-200-GOLD. If you want to get crypto, go to prophecyclubcrypto.com. All right, our first topic is Ukraine. Interesting information, but briefly, let me give you the first 2 slides recapping what we covered yesterday. So, Trump gave Ukraine until Thanksgiving to sign his 28-point peace proposal, or he would walk away, I hope he walks away, and stop all support for Ukraine. And apparently, I'll show you, apparently, the news hadn't said this yet, but apparently it's what he's done. I'll show you why I say that. All right, so this is a couple of days ago, November 21, and it says that Trump has given Kyiv, or Ukraine, until Thanksgiving to sign his agreement. And I'm saying this guy's not a good guy. And of course, as a result of that, Ukraine started extorting America, saying, if you do that, then we're going to expose you, all of the bad things you've done. Well, if you can find anything that Trump has not done and been exposed for already, good luck, because they've already looked every place under his fingernails, everything else. And so they've now started, this is Ukraine, has started attacking 3 different tankers. So they're trying to say, we're going to do something bad if you don't help us. Again, that's the playbook of the devil. And Zelensky just left a meeting with Putin, and the meeting he was supposed to have with Zelensky the very next day was canceled. I wonder why. Well, Zelensky has already said several times he's not going to give up any land. And I think that Russia and Ukraine have a deal where they're saying that Russia's going to continue to attack Ukraine until finally America gets involved and attacks Russia so that Russia can destroy us in 1 hour, as the prophecy says. Outsider observers believe the reason for the cancellation is simple. There's nothing left to talk about, and the war continues. I think the real reason is that Zelensky has a plan. He doesn't care if he sees all of the Ukrainians killed. His objective, along with Putin, is to destroy America, to get us involved in it. And that's the reason our Fast Gap team is praying that Trump will walk away from Ukraine. Walk away. No guarantees, no bullets, no blood on Ukrainian soil from Americans. Okay. Here's another confirmation of this. So, Fyodor Lukyanov, if I'm saying that right, Washington and Moscow are edging toward a deal. So this is what they thought. Witkoff thought they were heading to a deal, but he had to cancel the meeting because I don't think there is a deal. I don't think there's going to be a deal. Kremlin says that Putin accepted some of the U.S. proposals on Ukraine and is ready to continue talking, but Ukraine doesn't have anything to do with it. Again, I think it is a setup. It's a trap. It's a snare, as the Bible says, will eventually involve America and cause us to fall. Now, I've got some information from Pastor Begley. This comes from YouTube, and you can get the information there. And it's about 4 minutes in, should you want to listen to it, but this is what he says. Russian planes are leaving out of Venezuela. Putin apparently has abandoned Nicolas Maduro. He's urging Russian citizens to leave Venezuela. Now, why? I think it's because he told Putin that Trump in America is walking away from supporting Ukraine. So at that, Putin says, well, then we're going to walk away from supporting Venezuela. I can't prove that, but that's a reasonable guess. But I'll bet you it turns out to be correct. Start again. Russian planes are leaving out of Venezuela. Why is that? Because the Russians know that Trump is about to attack Venezuela, and that is if Nicolas Maduro does not, and all of his henchmen, does not just pick up and leave. Putin apparently has abandoned Nicolas Maduro. He is urging Russian citizens to leave Venezuela. Many commercial airliners from Russia have landed in Caracas. We assumed that these were going to be loading families and some of the top cabinet members of Maduro's cabinet. In other words, they're cleaning house, getting the Russians out, and also the Maduro leadership. And of course, hopefully, America doesn't have to send a bomb. Hopefully, the bad guys simply walk out of Venezuela, the Americans and capitalism walks back in, and we become friends with Venezuela and working with them again, as they have the largest, according to reports, the largest oil supply on the planet. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that, as Lindsey Williams told us, the North Slope of Alaska actually has the most oil on the earth. Now, you and I know that it's actually Israel, but that hadn't been discovered yet. So let's go on. The growing tensions between Venezuelan regime and the United States, they are confirming the start of a major evacuation process for Russian citizens currently living in Venezuela. The announcement has disseminated by the Russian media and internationally replicated, has caused a stir on social media and has sparked a heated debate about the fragile stability of Nicolas Maduro's regime. By the way, this is slightly edited for flow. These measures come at a time when Russian tourism in Venezuela has increased significantly. More than 6,000 Russian visitors traveled to the Margarita Island between August and November. The direct charter flights from Moscow suggested that the bilateral relationship between Moscow and Venezuela remains strong. However, the decision to evacuate Russian citizens now, whether tourists or temporary workers or personnel linked to commercial projects, has been interpreted as a major warning sign that highlights the growing fragility of the Venezuelan regime. In other words, Putin is walking away from Venezuela, and I think it's because Trump, and I hope it's because Trump is walking away from Ukraine. That makes the most sense to me. I've not read that in any news report. That's just a guess. There are also reports suggesting that the special flights could include not only tourists, but also officials, business people, and figures close to the Venezuelan government who are interested in fleeing the country in the face of possible American attacks on Venezuela. He didn't say that, but I believe that's what it is. For years, Russia has been one of the most loyal allies supporting Maduro, maintaining strategic cooperation on projects. However, the start of this evacuation without a public explanation is in context of international tension. That's my guess. I think I'll be right. Okay, let's go on. So that brings the big question. So what if Trump really has or is walking away from Ukraine? Likewise, Russia's walking away from Venezuela. I think that would be fantastic. And I'd like to see America go down there and become friends with Venezuela, and to see that their oil does not get stolen, and to see that their oil, as much of it as possible, comes onto the world market in righteous ways and begins to lower the overall price of oil around the globe. I think that would be good. That sounds good to me. All right, let's talk about how Europe is also extorting Trump or America. In other words, it's not just the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are saying, if you don't support us, then we're going to reveal all your bad things. Well, Trump says, well, go ahead. If you can find anything, they've already been looking for 6-8 years, didn't find anything. And so then he starts blowing up the tankers. Okay, so Ukraine is the hot spot of the devil, my opinion, as I talked about yesterday. And the report says that Europe is also extorting America. Here's the article. Trump on the brink of Europe plans nuclear option if U.S. sells out Ukraine. What? Okay. European states are considering adopting the nuclear option of sinking the U.S. economy if Donald Trump sells out Ukraine. That's called extortion. And endangers security on the continent. Talks between U.S. and Ukrainian officials continued on Sunday in Miami as both sides attempt to thrash out a peace deal. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's Russia's envoy, Steve Witkoff, attended the meeting along with the U.S. President's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Following the fragile talks, the U.S. President told reporters on board Air Force One that there was a good chance we'd make a deal. But apparently that's before he found out that Ukraine said, nope, we ain't going to give up an inch of land. Trump just says, okay, then fight on. But apparently Trump has said, but I'm walking away. And that's exactly what the Fast Gap team has been praying for, that we would not get involved with Ukraine, financing, backing Ukraine in any way. So Trump is rushing towards a geopolitical deal with Vladimir Putin while paying little heed to the security concerns of NATO allies. The alleged plan involves dumping trillions of U.S. government debt. Oh, yeah, I'm going to show you a couple articles on it. Dumping trillions of U.S. government debt owned by European states. A rapid sell-off would likely cause a crash in the value of the U.S. dollar, create a liquidity crisis across the banking system, and cause a huge spike in borrowing costs. It would also lock the American financial sector into a paralysis more severe than the 2008 crisis, and that's what the prophecies say, that the dollar is going to be worthless as leaves blowing in the wind, that it would go down 50%, down to zero. Another prophecy that said down a third to zero. But the point is, they both say it reaches zero. A leading European economist told Wall Street Journal, described the plan that a potential financial whiplash that could hit the U.S. harder than any external shock in modern history. Is that about to happen? Oh, watch what I've got for you. So that brings us to a big question. Why attack Venezuela? Is it to stop the drugs, or is it to get the oil, or maybe a little of both? Trump, U.S. will act very soon against Venezuelan drug traffickers by land. The U.S. will very soon start taking action on stopping the suspected Venezuelan drug traffickers on land. Now, they talk about the drugs and stopping the drugs, but I also think that oil has something to do with it. And to tell you the truth, I'd like to see capitalism come in rather than communism, rather than Cuba or Russia come in and be friends with Venezuela. I'd rather see Trump somehow get control of the oil or our oil companies to bring it online worldwide. Let's get the price of oil down even more. And if they do have the largest amount of oil on earth, and if they do bring it online, that could really help a lot of American interests. Then Venezuela rejects the sale of Citgo's parent, Vice President says. Well, this article doesn't tell us a whole lot about what is Citgo and how they fit in here. But the point is, oil is at the heart of this. And I read the whole thing, and it's not really saying anything other than oil is in the middle of it. However, I Googled this. I asked just Google, how is Venezuelan oil affecting Trump's threatening to attack them? Venezuela's vast oil reserves are a key factor, didn't say anything about drugs, key factor in the current U.S.-Venezuela tensions, as U.S. military action or regime change could significantly disrupt global oil markets, potentially leading to higher oil prices. So, if you go to the converse of that, that means that if Trump can get the good guys down there controlling the Venezuelan oil, helping them get it out without it being stolen, put it on the market, then that could also lower the prices of oil around the globe. That would be a good thing. Let's go on, though. So we're answering the question, has oil been involved in wars? Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves. I'm not certain I agree with that or believe that. But it says the global market is sensitive to instability in major producing regions, and the mere threat of a U.S. attack can cause oil prices to jump. A full military intervention would likely cause a major supply shock, temporarily, till they start bringing the oil online. It goes on to say, Venezuela's oil production has already declined significantly due to sanctions, underinvestment, mismanagement, and it doesn't say it, but communism. Any U.S. military action would almost certainly cause production and exports to plummet further, or to the converse, once it's taken over and they bring the oil online, make the price drop, okay? If stable U.S.-friendly government is installed for the Venezuelan government, protect their oil assets from perceived foreign aggression is a major diplomatic and domestic priority. In short, Venezuelan oil acts as a major geopolitical leverage point, that's the point, and political flashpoint, in its importance in the global energy market means the threat of military action has significant economic and political consequences beyond just the U.S. and Venezuela, meaning we're talking about the global price of oil here. That's big. Now, most wars since 1901 have been fought over oil. So I Googled that. Here's what I found. World War II, fought over oil. What? Yeah. Gulf War, fought over oil. Iraq was really over oil. And in Venezuela in 1917, there was a coup supported by America that intended to ensure oil leases for U.S. firms. And in 1923, the U.S. Marines seized Veracruz, Mexico, to force the Mexican government to sign oil leases with U.S. firms on favorable terms, meaning oil is where it's at. Venezuela, drugs, no problem. Drugs there, drugs bad, oil bigger, okay? Oil's a bigger thing. So that brings the next question. Has the event which causes the dollar to fall finally arrived? You remember that Shane Warren told us it would be because another country started selling oil in another currency other than the dollar, and that happened June 9th of 2024. Remember that? And we were all looking for the dollar to immediately start falling. Well, it has fallen 50% in the last year, but it hasn't caused that much damage yet. But prophecy says the dollar is going to devalue by China selling oil in other currency. But look at this. Now, this is the information. Devaluing of the dollar caused major rioting in the streets. Article. Japan finance minister says that they are alarmed over the yen's volatility. The yen sank to a fresh 9-month low versus the dollar, as we have recently been seeing a one-sided rapid move in the foreign exchange market. We have been alarmed. There's more. Catastrophe. Japan. 30-year bond hits 3.427%. Something just shifted deep inside the global financial system. See how Venezuela comes in? Okay. And almost no one is explaining what it means to you. Japan's 30-year LSEG government bond just hit a historic low of 3.4%. And worse, Japan's 10-year government interest rate just spiked to 1.8%, the highest level since 2008, jumping more than 11% in a single day. That doesn't sound dramatic on the surface, but it is. For 30 years, Japan was the quiet engine that kept the world's debt machine running. Their interest rates, near zero, meant that banks, hedge funds, governments could borrow cheap money from Japan, pour it into the U.S. bonds, stocks, real estate, and everything else that now feels permanently expensive. That cheap money kept mortgage rates lower, stock markets higher, government borrowing easier, credit cheap and plentiful. But that era is now ending. So the Bank of Japan has held interest rates near zero after every other major country has raised rates to fight inflation. They tried to hold the system together with money printing and artificial controls. There's more. Japan alone owns $1.1 trillion U.S. government debt. That makes them the largest foreign lender to the United States. But when interest rates at home suddenly become attractive again, the money is no longer guaranteed to stay in America. And that means the Federal Reserve is losing its ability to quietly support markets. What does that mean? That means that we can start looking at higher mortgage rates, higher car payments, higher credit card interest, falling retirement accounts. There you go, 800, 200 gold, okay? Rising food, energy, insurance costs, more layoffs, and business failures. Now, a little bit of good news. End up today with a little bit of good news. No IRS, no income tax. Yay! I know of many people that have had a lot of problems with the IRS. And if they were gone, if you ask me, that would be the greatest, let me see if how would I word this, the greatest achievement a president has achieved in American human history, in my opinion. Get rid of the IRS. Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax. I actually heard him say this in his cabinet meeting yesterday, which would have been December the 2nd. Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax as White House explores alternative revenue streams, talking about tariffs. So he says you won't even have income tax to pay, arguing that revenue the government is collecting under the administration, tariffs, is so great, so enormous, whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really low, much lower than it is now, but you won't be paying income tax. I heard him say that. He said that tariffs will likely, he didn't guarantee it yet, likely replace the IRS, the income tax. And you recall that Scott Bessent is the head of the IRS right now. And I just commented with my wife Leslie last night watching Fox News, watching Scott Bessent. I think he's a good guy. Now, I know people say that, let's put it this way. He's not walking with Jesus, but he's doing a lot of things right financially. If enacted, and I'm not attacking him, and I'm not judging him, okay? Matter of fact, I pray he gets his name in the book of life. If enacted, abolishing income tax would mark the most ambitious overhaul of the American tax system in more than a century. I would say it would probably be the greatest event that any president in any nation has ever done. Getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of income tax. If nothing else, just getting the government out of our financial system. Because the government can walk in, because the IRS, they can look at all of your finances. I know people have been put in jail over the IRS, several of them. Probably you do too. And if there's one thing that stops my heart is seeing a letter from the Internal Revenue Service. So if there was no Internal Revenue Service, I would jump. I'd probably have to do a cartwheel. I think that'd be wonderful. Anyway, the point is, I think that Trump is trying to fix America, and I think that a lot of things in America are getting fixed, but I don't think everything is going to be fixed. You can't do away with 6 chapters out of the Bible, which are Revelation 18, Jeremiah 50, 51, Isaiah 13, 21, and 47, all talking about America. You can't just pull 6 chapters out of the Bible. Now, I would love to think we could get to heaven and ask God, hey, how come you didn't bring judgment on America? And I'd love to hear him say, because America repented. That'd be my heart's desire. But that's probably not going to happen. So what does all this mean? It means that it's all apparently, some of it is being delayed, but understand, Father God knows the end from the beginning, and he knew all of this would be delayed, and he has everything. Only he knows the end from the beginning, and he knew all this was going to happen. I think he is giving America a chance to clean herself. But if my people called by my name will humble themselves, seek my face, and turn from the wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. 2 Chronicles 7:14. And I pray that that great revival does come. But as I was told, as the judgment hits, so will my miracles. Miracles like no one has seen, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. You tell them, I will never leave them nor forsake them. I'm going to meet the devil inch for inch, step for step, pound for pound. Everything he does, I'm going to meet him. Didn't say I was going to beat him. He still gives the devil his chance, but he meets them. Meaning, when the devil comes out with his 10 commandments of the world's 10 commandments, God will pull out the 10 commandments out of the Ark of the Covenant, show people the Ark of the Covenant, show people the 2 red granite, about yay big, written with the finger of his name, written with his finger into solid granite, and refute everything he's saying. Just like when there's the beast and the false prophet standing in the holy place, there'll also be the 2 witnesses, which I believe are Moses and John the Revelator, walking up and down the streets of Jerusalem. If any man hurt them, fire proceedeth out of the mouth and devoureth the enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. No one can stop them until their ministry is finished. Then the beast out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, shall overcome them, and shall kill them, and the dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is Jerusalem, where also our Lord was crucified. Anyway, he kills them. He kills the 2 witnesses. We're living in some exciting times. I recommend you go to prophecyclub.com, put your pre-order in for my book. And also, if you can help me get the thing printed, that would be very, very nice. I was expecting it to come complete. Well, actually, it did come yesterday completed, the text. But I asked her to make a couple of more changes, and so we'll probably get that back today, and it may possibly go off to the printer today or tomorrow for sure, and then roughly 30 days later, we will have them and start shipping them out. It's called the Pentecost Rapture of the Bride. Not Pentecost Rapture of the Church, Pentecost Rapture of the Bride. Not everyone gets raptured. Anyway, God bless you. If you can help us and pray for us, we'd appreciate it. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice.